little bit on form, and I've been coaching forever with people, and it's, and when I go to even talk to a cross-country team and coach, you know, they get nervous when I start telling them, like, criticizing or giving form tips to their best runner, right? Who totally overstrides. He's the greatest kid on the team. He's like, you know, all-state cross-country runner, you know, fastest kid in his school. And he's got horrible form. He could be a lot better. You know, that's what I'm just, and, all right. So just so that's something on form. But the basic things about form, I haven't heard anybody say anything different about good form in the 35 years that I've been running, right? Nothing new. I've not heard a new thing except it's always shorten that stride, quick turnover, good posture, you know, that locked pelvis, you know, with your abs firm, forward lean, straight through with your arms. Nothing has changed, right? Your foot strike is here. And supposedly the idea that the barefoot is going to help you do that, maybe, but I see people in 5 toes slamming their heel in the ground.
Yeah, in that case, they definitely should.
They need help.
But yeah, I would agree with Randy. In my experience, I can't even remember what I was watching. Oh, it's Into the Wind, the Terry Fox story. Guy who ran across Canada, amputee. And they showed pictures of him running, and there were a lot of people running with him at different times. This was 1980 or 1981. And everybody that was running with him ran with the form that, you know, all of us, and pretty much any coach that's going to teach running form teaches the same thing. And barefoot, running barefoot isn't some magical, you know, if you run barefoot, all of your problems will disappear. There's all kinds of systems to learn good form. I mean, what these guys are doing is the exact same thing that I teach. They may use different language, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing that Chi running teaches. It's the same thing that Pose teaches. You know, good form. All of these different form running systems that will teach you how to run with good form all use the same basic elements, which are all of the things Randy just talked about. Increase your cadence, shorten your stride, you know, upright posture. I think the problem is so many runners learn how to run by watching other runners at races who are also running with bad form. I know that's what happened to me when I started running a race. I had pretty good running form before, probably from running around as a kid barefoot. Or I just never really paid attention to how other people ran. I just ran how I thought felt the best. And it wasn't until I ran my first road race that I watched other runners to realize that I was running wrong. So I started overstriding with a heel strike because it's what everybody else was doing, and that's when the injuries really hit me. And it wasn't until I went back to that, what is now becoming called natural form, is a term that a lot of people are starting to use, which is really just, like you said, it's the same form that coaches have taught for years. I know as far as teaching, there's a big difference between people that come from a running background where they were coached versus somebody who never received any coaching, whether they be high school or college athletes. If they were taught running form, usually there's not a lot that I can do for them. They already have good form.
A question for all of you, follow up on that. You know, we're all built a little differently, and everyone has, you know, a unique stride. You know, it's hard for me to believe that there's one, you know, correct way to run for every person. There's certainly a lot of things we can all do to improve, but how does that play into your coaching? You know, should everyone run at the same exact cadence? You know, depending on, you know, length of your legs and how you're built and the way your physiology and your muscles work. You know,
That's definitely more of a running form question. I have my opinion.
Yeah, I always tell people, I think it's George Sheehan that said we're all an experiment of one. It's up to us to figure out what's going to work best for us. I think the basics are going to be the same. I mean, you're going to reach a peak efficiency if you're using those elements. How that looks for different individuals is going to be different. My running form is going to be slightly different than your running form. And I think our own unique physiology dictates that. And there's other conditions, whether you're trail running or road running, depends on the type of shoes that you have. There's a lot of factors that are going to play into that. I personally have a problem with systems that teach very, very specific detail. Pose as one example, that say, this is the ideal, and we're gonna spend 5 years, you know, give us your money for 5 years and we'll teach you how to run perfectly. Well, you know, not all of us are gonna have the exact same form, but that's my opinion.
I think if there's one principle, and there are key principles that apply to everyone, but if there's one principle out of the set that most of us can all learn from, it's probably cadence. And it is easy to lope out there, and which kind of, you know, you heel strike more, you land in front of your hips, putting on the brakes causes injuries, and a lot of those injuries are related, and it comes back to cadence and it's probably the hardest thing to change, but it's a neuromuscular pattern, and once it's rehearsed multiple times, it becomes ingrained and becomes automated. But cadence is one thing we can mostly all improve on, myself included.
Some people have a very short stride though, and a very fast cadence, and it looks to my eye that they would benefit maybe from a slightly longer stride.
Yeah, exceptions to every rule, but probably the majority are overstriding or slow cadence, yeah.
Yeah, they say that the majority are sitting around about 160, you know, for cadence for your general beginner runner. And then the ideal is about 180. But then you look at Jason, who sits at maybe what, 200?
Yeah, between 2 and 210.
So it really comes down to that individual. And then if you're on trails, it could be different. If you're slamming down a hill or going up a hill, it's all gonna vary. So, I mean, the main goal, you know, for us is just to take each individual of these classes and see which minor tweaks we need to make to just help the runner become more efficient.
From a PT perspective, you know, we for centuries have studied gait and through and through, and we have a very good understanding of what is good gait, bad gait, the most efficient gait, and the same kind of research has been applied to running form and running gait. And with good form, the one way that we visualize it is not saying everyone needs to run exactly the same, but it's actually utilizing those techniques that make you more efficient, biomechanically efficient, which helps to reduce the stresses on the body and on the joints and the tendons, and obviously going to reduce injuries. So my perspective of form running is incorporating, you know, these techniques to become the most efficient you're designed to be.